It's week 3 of our 2021 beginner challenges. So today we're looking at some sales of bike accessories, and we have sales from a number of different stores, and they're stored in different tabs of our Excel worksheet. So I've gone ahead and connected to the data already this time, and you can see the tables of those stores at the left-hand side of the screen. But you'll notice that Tableau Prep hasn't automatically brought any input step into our view yet. So we've got to do that ourselves, but which one do we choose? So actually, first of all, it doesn't matter which one you choose because we're going to do something called a wildcard input for this challenge. So I'm just going to drag out one of my stores, and you will notice here that it opens in a multiple files option there. And at the moment it's saying single table. So we have our Birmingham data coming through, but we're going to go to the Wildcard Union radio button there. And you'll see that it is showing me kind of the file path associated with this file. So it's in my downloads and it's saying, hey, you want to include everything from this file? Yes, include everything from this file. And which sheets do I want to include? Okay, if I look down here, it's showing which sheets it might pick up if I leave that pattern blank, which that is exactly what I want to do. I want to pick up all of these sheets, but I can't just select Wildcard Union and go ahead building my data because I've only got 12 rows of data here. That's probably not all of the store's worth of data. So to make sure that that applies, you can see that it's gone back to being a single table there. I need to click on my Wildcard Union and make sure I hit that blue apply button there. And now you can sort of see Tableau Prep processing that, and our little icon here, if I go back, you see it's just a table, but when I hit that apply button, it gets a little table with a plus on the end. And you can see, in fact, that we've got a couple of new fields come into our view too. So if I look in my clean one step, then I can see that I now have table names and file paths as well. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of the file paths field because that is literally the same for each of my tables. And I'm going to rename my table names to be store. So nice. So we can see the structure of our data so far is it kind of tells us, it gives us a breakdown for each of the product types. So we've got saddles or mudguards, and it's prefaced with either new or existing. So that means if it's a new customer buying that item or an existing customer that's bought it. And we've got a lot of data information there too. So what we want to do is we want to reshape our data so that we have a list of the products and a list of our customer types and the list of, the products sold. So how do we do that? We need to go to our plus menu here, and we don't need an aggregate step because we're not kind of getting rid of any level of detail in this data set. We still want to have all of the detail of every single day and every single store, so aggregate isn't the right thing. So what about a pivot instead? Let's give that a go, see if that does what we're looking for. Okay, so with our pivot step, we have two options. We can either have a columns to rows pivot, or we can have a rows to columns pivot. Now in this example, we would really like a column to rows pivot because we want to take all of these fields except for the date and the store, and we want to basically turn those columns into rows because we want that information about the customers and the product type to be a row in our data set instead. So let's go ahead and do that. So we could pick up each of these fields and drag it over. But in this instance, what I would prefer to do, it's another one of these I'm lazy cases. I'm going to use the wildcard search to pivot here. And in my little search, I'm going to say, hey, we've got a dash in all of these fields that we want to be pivoted. So I'm going to hit dash and then hit enter. And you can see how our data has been reshaped. We've got our date and our store still there because they didn't get pivoted, but then we've got all the values and all that information about our existing or new customers and the product type into one field here as well. So I'm going to rename this pivot one values to be products sold. I've spelt it wrong. Products sold, there you go. And then I'm going to add in a clean step after this. Now, in this clean step, we have basically our information about our customer type and our products all in one field, whereas we'd prefer to be able to use those separately. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to listen to the recommendation from Tableau Prep here, and I'm going to split my values. One of these fields becomes a dash, which we don't need, so I'm going to remove that. And then I'm just going to rename this to be customer type and product. And then I don't need this field that has those two values concatenated, so I'm going to remove it. Our final step that we need to do is thinking about changing our date to be a quarter, and this I'm going to zoom in for. So at the moment our date is at the day level, individual days, but I want it to be at the quarter level. So I'm just going to come down to convert dates option, and I'm going to change it to be quarter number. And that will change all of my dates into different quarters. I'm going to rename the field to quarter as well. That's something I always forget to do, and then I'm wondering why my date is a numeric field later. Great. So our only steps that we need to take now are to do with aggregation. So our first aggregation that we need to do is grouping by the customer type, the product, and the store. So what we need to do is we need to double click on the customer type, the product, and the store, and bring in our products sold to the aggregated fields. You can go back and watch the previous week if you'd like a more detailed description of what the aggregate step is doing. And we can literally now just look at it in a clean step and see that we're getting the same values and go ahead and add an output step afterwards. But we also want to have another output for this challenge. And this time we're wanting to group by our product and our quarter. So we'll group by our product, and instead of double clicking on quarter, we're going to click on that sum and instead select group by. And then we're going to double click on our product sold to aggregate that up. And take a look at this data set. And yep, that is exactly the same as what we have in the output for the challenge. So we're ready to output that as well. So hopefully that was a nice walkthrough of some of the techniques that we use in our data prep, and thank you very much for watching.